Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sahand, and I serve as the Measure 110 Program and Council Manager. I will be supporting Lakeisha Dumas with facilitation for today's meeting. On behalf of the Oversight and Accountability Council, I would like to thank you for joining us. This is a public meeting, and we truly value community presence and input. Members of public are welcome to submit comments or join our interested parties list by emailing oha.measure110@oha.oregon.gov. That email and additional information about the council can be found on the Measure 110 OAC webpage. Per OAC members' request, OHA and other staff in the meeting space, please introduce yourselves in the chat. When you do, feel free to include your role at the agency and your area of expertise. That is, if you're here as a subject matter expert. With that, I'll turn it over to Keisha for opening remarks.
Hey, sorry. So my name is Lakeisha Dumas, and I'm the facilitating tri-chair today. Welcome, everyone. Today's agenda will be Tillamook County Health Center's presentation, Tillamook Care presentation and vote, Washington County Behavioral Health discussion and vote, and Mid-Columbia Center for Living discussion. And I will turn it over to Carly for attendance.
Thank you, Keisha. Ami.
Here.
Thank you. Amy. Amy. I can see you, but I just need you to verbally say that you're here. I don't know if she can hear me. Amy, I'm going to come back to you, okay? Caroline? Dharma?
Here.
Hey, Dharma. Hubert? Hunter is excused. Jackie?
Here.
Hey, Jackie. Keisha?
Here.
Leticia?
I'm here.
Hi, Leticia. Linda?
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries, Amy.
So you're right now you're doing laundry because that's gonna.
Okay. Linda, I'm sorry if I missed you if you said you were here. Thank you.
I'm here.
Mason? Melissa?
Here.
Hey, Melissa. Morgan? Ryan?
I'm here.
Hey, Ryan. And Sabrina, I am going to send her a link on her phone in just a moment. Zeb is excused. Sam, don't believe she's here. And Annalise.
Here.
Hi, Annalise. And we are at quorum with 10, and we'll have 11 when Sabrina joins. Back to you, Keisha.
All right, we're gonna have our first presentation by Tillamook County Health Center. So I will turn it over to them.
And read through the call for conflicts, Tillamook County Community Health Center. OAC members with an actual conflict of interest cannot participate in discussions on the matter that presents the conflict. In order to best protect members, we will be calling for conflicts before a matter on the agenda is discussed. If the matter could present a conflict for an OAC member. On the agenda today is a proposal regarding funding decisions for current Measure 110 grantees. OAC members may have a potential or an actual conflict of interest regarding this matter. If you announce a potential conflict of interest, you must announce the nature of the conflict, but you can participate in the discussion and vote. If you announce an actual conflict of interest, you must announce the nature of the conflict and refrain from participating in the discussion. Please turn your camera off. If there are not enough members to vote on the proposal, members with actual conflicts of interest will be asked to vote in roll call order until a majority of votes for or against is reached. Thank you, Carly.
And whoever is presenting for Tillamook County Community Health Center can go ahead and unmute and take over.
Okay. Thanks, Carly. Thank you, everyone. My name is Danelle Boggs, and I'm the Behavioral Health Manager at Tillamook County Community Health Center. Marlene Putman is also here with me, and she is the administrator for Tillamook County Community Health Centers. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So we were awarded a total of $623,000, just over that. One of the areas that we have struggled to expend funding in is in the personnel category, workforce shortages, and a few other reasons. So we estimate that we're going to have about 251,000 left over. So we have some needs, and I'm going to go over those shortly. But if our presentation is approved today, we should be able to get it down to having left over about 146,000. If we're able to hire what we call a public health program rep or a care coordinator, which we're still attempting to do, we may have a little bit less than that left. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So we have, since the beginning with our funding, provided substance use screening, behavioral health assessments, low barrier substance use treatment. Most specifically in our health clinic, we provide medication assisted treatment for those with opioid use disorder. And we have a strong harm reduction lens. Because we're integrated behavioral health and primary care, it's an effective way to treat people in our community and make sure that they have access to medications such as Suboxone and Sublocade and Subutex. Because we have wonderful care coordinators that exist for the primary care side, we have been able to provide a high level of care coordination and engagement with other entities and making sure that people have access to the resources that they need, such as Oregon Health Plan and housing and our local Tillamook Family Counseling Center that is our community mental health and addictions agency for Tillamook County. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So our first request is we had originally asked for funding for peer support specialist, but we've ran into a couple of issues over the last several years, of course. One is through our coordinated care organization, because we are not, we don't hold a certificate of approval for mental health or addictions. We've been told that it's not an allowable provider type. So we haven't been able to have a peer support specialist within our agency. And then second, we had worked on subcontracting for peer support specialist with two different agencies in the community. But due to their own workforce shortages and the lack of qualified peers in the community, we just haven't been able to make that as a go. So we need the peer support specialist piece just removed from our budget line. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So we have four requests to move money. It's all in the personnel category. The first one is a request for basically just a transfer from in personnel. Um, Instead of expending it in one area in personnel to utilize the funding of about 11,400 for a consulting firm. We had recently, in the last several months, lost two medical providers, and they left behind about 200 plus patients who are prescribed multiple stimulants. So this consulting firm is going to help us work on this panel, but also provide case support, policy development, lots of education for both the behavioral health team and our medical providers, among other staff in our clinic. So that one is pretty important so that we can work on getting patients seen and then figuring out plans for them. Our second request is around equipment for oral health exams for our dental clinic. That's for $28,000. It's for 4 dental chairs. The reason that we're asking for this is we have a very high population of Medicaid patients in Tillamook County, and the majority of those are seen in our dental clinic. Individuals with substance use disorder have a tendency to not always get their medical or dental needs met. But when they are getting those needs met, especially with dental, they tend to stay in treatment longer and complete treatment. This is especially important for our individuals that are receiving medication for opioid use disorder. If you're at all familiar with Suboxone and Subutex, it has to go under the tongue. It has impacts on their teeth. So they have more risk for dental decay, dental caries, and tooth loss. We are working on getting more people the Sublocade shot, but that is not always appropriate for everyone. So the expansion of our dental clinic with this, we have a really wonderful dentist who is very workable in this area and has a great understanding of substance use disorder. This will be a way to engage our patients and get their dental care needs met. You can go on to the next slide. Our third request is for the electronic health record. It's an AI assistance called DAX Copilot. This AI is already integrated into Ocean Epic, which is the medical record that we utilize in our clinic. So it's already integrated. It's something that is available to us at a cost. The way in which we believe that this could be beneficial is when you remove the basically the computer screen away from the provider, they can engage with the patient more effectively and more efficiently. And this is especially important for those with substance use disorder. They already come into the clinic already not feeling supported. And so this will allow patients and providers to engage in a more personal way. This also will increase just, I think, provider satisfaction, decrease their burnout. They'll have less hours on documentation, more time available to actually see patients because they won't be spending as much time doing documents. It will still be up to them at the end of the visit to assure that all of the information has been uploaded into the note correctly, double check all of that, but they won't be sitting there having to document each and everything that they're doing in their visit. So I think it would make a huge difference for our providers, our patients, and then the clinic overall. Our last request is in regards to we are opening a new integrated site for medical, behavioral health, and pharmacy. This is a request for $30,000 towards equipment for the new site. Tillamook County is in need of a pharmacy, and this is a way for us to integrate it into our clinic. So we will be opening the new site here in the next little bit. It's actually very short. And behavioral health provider will also be in the where they can regularly see patients for all sorts of issues, including substance use disorder. And then patients can access their medications right there on site. And this will include access to medications such as Sublocade and other injectable medications. Right now, Sublocade, we have to send patients over to our local hospital. And then lastly, where the location of the new clinic is only going to be about 50 feet away from our dental clinic. So it's going to allow for additional interaction and integration between behavioral health and the dental clinic. This will be especially important, I think, for our patients with substance use disorder that might need just that extra little bit of support by a behavioral health clinician. So the kinds of equipment that we're asking for is your typical desks and chairs and computers and things like that that we need. So go on to the next one. I just want to thank you, both Marlene and I, and our entire clinic has been very honored that we have received the Measure 110 funding. I know our patients have benefited greatly from this. Our clinic has been a federally qualified health center since 1995, but we've been a health department since long before then. I remember taking my own children into the health department when it was at the bottom of our old courthouse, and that was a long time ago. But we value our partnership with all of you, the Oregon Health Authority and the Oversight Committee, and I thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you.
I can't
Keisha,
really see
okay.
hand now. But I know I have a question about the peer support, and I'm a little confused on not an allowable worker type, one, and two, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure that the reason you got approved was because for the integration of peer support. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm just a little disappointed in the lack of peer support and um, yeah. So first, the allowable. Why is it not allowable? I'm a little confused on that. And yes,
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit of history. So when we wrote the grant, we had initially wrote it as that we were going to contract with a outside agency. And that was our first issue with the workforce shortage. So then I believe we had it changed to where we would attempt to hire. And it was after that that we found out that our local coordinated care organization, um, they have, we've been instructed or that it's not an allowable provider type within our clinic. Um, and my understanding is because we are not a certificate of approval entity. So peer supports can be hired by Tillamook Family Counseling, which is our local mental health agency, but because we're a primary care clinic, we can't. Um, so that was then after that was when we went back and decided we needed to go back to contracting for an outside agency for peer supports, and we continued to have the workforce shortage. So it's been this little bit of a curvy road, I guess you could say. We still do refer out for peer supports because there is a Prime Plus peer program in Tillamook. So we and our harm reduction program through the public health works very closely with those peers. So we do refer any patients that need peer support. Um, we just haven't been able to successfully, one, have them either in the clinic because of limitations or contract for services. I hope that answered your question.
I mean, not really. I'm still a little confused because I know I was a peer support who worked in primary care clinic, so I'm still confused on what what's that about. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and I don't know if it's just their specific definition and their interpretation of the rules. Um, I'm not sure, but that's the information that we have received.
Any more questions for our council?
We can go ahead and move the presenters back to the attendee room, and then we can open for discussion.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question? Sorry, I had to my attention had to go away for a patient thing real quick. So they're asking to use funds that were initially allotted to peer support to the list of things they showed in the presentation. Is that, am I understanding that? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Um,
Yeah.
I share Lakeisha's confusion a little bit. I mean, maybe it's some, I don't know, CCO rules that really have no wiggle room. Um, but I'm also a little bit, like we're not covering a lot of these types of costs for other programs like AI notes. I mean, I would love for everybody to be able to access some of this stuff, but so I think also a little bit confused about our rules in terms of funding since we haven't been funding like certain capital costs. Like, are these asks within um, our, I guess, our decided rules on what we're going to fund? Am I making sense? Sorry, guys.
You are making sense. I'm just, yeah. I mean, it's like all these shiny new things, but less peer support. I'm just still confused on because peer support has billing codes. Not that you might be able to build for this project or whatever, but they have billing codes. They are a worker type in the ORs, and I'm just confused on how they're not allowable in the clinic. I don't know. It's boggling my mind. I don't know.
Ryan has his hand up. He's not like got an air hand up, but a legitimate hands up. He's
Yeah, I
like,
can't find that button. I don't know where that button, anyways, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Carolyn has her hand up too.
Oh,
So
Carolyn, were you
I'll go
first?
Carolyn, then Ryan.
No, go ahead, Ryan. I want to hear what your question is.
Well, it's not a question. I think the COA status will let Medicare pay for the services provided by the peer support specialist. Without a COA, they won't get paid for. It sounds like they're a primary care. I don't know how much behavioral health staff they have on or what kind of oversight or departments they have built. It sounded like they were going to contract. But now it feels like they're doing some creative budgeting. And while it's SUD adjacent and supportive, I feel like it's also kind of, they're looking to leverage these awarded monies to expand services in other areas, which, I don't see how we could vote to approve dental chairs without a whole new application demonstrating how that impacts or how that affects the impact from the war on drugs, right? it's loosely adjacent.
So I wanted to see the slides again because I got confused as to what was being requested. So can we see the slides again? And because I kind of lost, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I am bringing them up right now. And let me know if you want me to go back. Are you seeing the slides?
Yeah, so
Okay.
what we're seeing here is that they're not able to hire peer support specialists. And they're not able to contract. Okay, go to the next slide. And then she started talking about pain management. So 2 people resign. So then she wants to now change that to request for oral exams chairs because they serve Medicaid.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so she's connecting the oral surgery to substance use disorder patients. So I got that connection. So go ahead. How she wants to move it to health records. Oh, I, I, yeah, I guess Dharma could go because I'm coming to some conclusion in my head. Is that the last slide? Was that the last slide?
Basically, there's that one too.
Okay, I guess Dharma and Shannon, I guess, could ask questions now. I was just trying to figure out what it was. Go ahead.
Could you go back one more slide? Oh, sorry.
Nope, no problem. Give me just 1 minute.
For me,
I just
I
want,
think I can
I'm what,
see the way that these things are
Dharma,
like
Dharma,
associated. Sorry,
sorry,
go
Dharma,
ahead.
real fast. I'm just wondering if Shannon has something pressing that she needs to say to us before we continue on, or it can wait.
Oh,
I agree.
thanks. Thanks, Keisha. No, it can wait.
Okay, sorry about that, Dharma. Okay.
No worries. So I can see how these things might be related to like keeping people in care, but I can't see how they would be like allocated in a way that it's like dedicated for folks in the program, like receiving Measure 110 services. The one thing that did maybe stick out to me was the medical behavioral health and pharmacy. What was it there? Oh, was it more of the dental clinic stuff? Yeah, I don't see how this could be. I guess I can see how these things are related services. They're not unrelated. But I just don't see how we could ensure that these are going to go towards Measure 110 like service recipients. And I'm not sure that all the Measure 110 recipients would be eligible to get the services that they're talking about, like dental services. They might not have access to that need. Um, it just yeah, for me, it just feels a little bit off from what they're doing, especially because it was coming out of peer support funds. So I really just wouldn't support this shift over. But is there an alternative plan that's more in line with the services that they might have for us, as opposed to them just losing the funding?
Liz, are you here? Are you able to speak to that?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know if they have an alternative plan for spending. This is something we spoke about. So generally when people want to do a budget adjustment, they'll talk with us, their grant administrator first. And when we review them, if their request is over 25%, that we automatically bring it to you all. And or if it's a request that we are not sure that makes sense or is in line with what you intend these funds to go towards. This is kind of in that category. When I reviewed it, I wasn't confident in approving it just based on kind of historically what the OAC has funded. So, I think some of those questions would be better answered by the organization than myself. And I don't know if we have the option to bring them back into the room or not.
Liz, Keisha, is it okay if I go real quick?
Yes, please.
Liz, what are the services that are funded now?
I can pull that up for you. Hold on.
Okay. Because I wanted to answer the question that came up about, and I think it was Linda's question about sort of what you can fund.
Sorry, thanks for your patience. I have like 1,000 screens up right now. Currently, they are providing all service areas except for housing and supported employment. So screening, assessment, SUD, peer, and harm reduction.
Okay. So so the council would need to find that within those categories, what they are planning on spending money for sort of fits within those general buckets, rather than something that's sort of separate from that. And I don't, right at this point, I wouldn't think that they could, and I don't think that they're necessarily asking to add a service that they haven't been providing.
And looking at their budget as well, I am concerned that we would have to ask the council to drop them as a peer provider. This is something we'd want to ask them about because in their budget, the only thing I really see associated with peer is that peer support specialist.
Right. And so if they're saying that they can't do that or they're not doing that, then that would be a grant amendment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shannon. That's really helpful. So to make sure I understand, if we were to approve their asks, we would have to figure out if they fit under the current categories. Okay. And right now I guess the first one where they're asking for consulting around kind of pain and addiction, that would fit under kind of treatment services since it sounds like they're kind of supporting their providers and providing treatment. Um, but otherwise, it's a little difficult for me to totally feel like they fit, even though I understand the relationship and these are like important services for people. Um, and we didn't really fund any other capital expenses for other organizations, so um, it would feel inconsistent to approve like dental chairs for them.
Yeah. I'm just a little concerned that that they don't have any peer support or on the ground folks to really bring all this together. It's just real clinical to me, real clinical.
Could you go back one more screen for me?
Yes.
Is there another one back that has more on their line item stuff?
There's that one. Let's see. Is this what you're looking for? This one?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Linda's comment in the chat. I was gonna bring this up, but I think that For me, it feels like I'd rather invest in other peer support services. I don't think that we should. I'm wondering if we don't vote on this now, are they still able to come back maybe with a plan to do more peer support work or should make something fit that's more in line with the measure approved services, or would they lose this funding altogether? I'm just wondering like if the funds would go back towards peer support services in Tillamook County or if it's just going to be back into the pool.
Shannon, would you know that answer?
Sorry, what was the question again?
I guess I'm wondering if the monies are if we don't approve the shift over or whatever, are we able to ask them to come back with something that's more in line with peer support services so that we don't lose that amount of funding for support peer support in Tillamook County? Or is it going to go back into the general fund? Like would it go back towards Tillamook County peer support services or would it go towards just a general DHRSF fund?
Yeah, I mean, any money that is returned. I mean, I don't know what I'm not sure what would happen here if they're not providing one of the service areas, and if they return money. But if they returned money, then it goes back into the fund.
Okay, so I guess I would say that I think that we should try to get them to come back with something for peer support in their area so that Tillamook County doesn't lose that fund. I know that might be an extension, but I'd rather do that still than like have them just lose the opportunity to get those services there.
They weren't able to hire though. Like if we, so I'm wondering how realistic that is, to ask them to try to hire when they weren't able to.
I think it's more, oh yeah, if not, but like, yeah, I don't know.
I
So,
would be still interested
But
in a budget
wait.
that's a little more directly related to the Measure 110 funding areas, though.
to follow the Robert Rules of Order, folks, come on. My hand's been up for quite some time. So can we go back to the Robert Rules of
Sorry.
Order and let me talk? Can we?
Go ahead, Carolyn. I didn't see your hand. Sorry.
Thank you. So I'm in agreement with what you guys are saying, but the reality is the fact that this is too far off. So the recommendation I would like to make is for OHA to meet with them to see if they could stay within the framework of what Measure 110 is. And though I'm like Dharma, I could see the relationship here, but then we never approved anything like this for others. I think they realize that they can't hire these folks, and so they're trying to connect the dots. And though they're connected, it doesn't fit within the RFP in terms of those areas that we target. So my recommendation would be to deny this request and have them connect with OHA to see if they could get some TA. And if they cannot come back with a proposal that if they can't fulfill this, and they already said that they don't have a letter of approval, they're not within those, they don't have a letter certificate of approval. And so in other words, we gave this money to an entity who probably doesn't even know what the organ administration rules are. And so I would recommend that OHA give them some technical assistance. And if they cannot come up with something, I mean, we're ready what? We're ready in April and these dollars expire when? Is it December? Carly, when is it?
June 30th.
Of this year?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, come on, they're not going to be able to fulfill this. And so we might have to take the funds back at this late date. But if we were to put a motion in to vote on this, I think I would say no.
Thank you, Carolyn. So do we want to move to a motion?
I do have a possible motion I can pull up just in case.
And Dharma, you have something?
I'd like to see your sample motion, but I was going to motion to do what Caroline said and ask them to seek CA from OHA to see if they can bring us something that's more in line with Measure 110 services. Even if it would mean getting a grant extension, I'd rather see that happen than not try to do that.
Was that an actual motion, Dharma?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
motion to the the presenters bring back an alternative proposal after seeking technical assistance from OHA to try to bring their services more in line with Measure 110 approved services.
You think it's much time for that though? Or should we
I'd
just
rather
deny?
still do it with an extension if needed, rather than not try to allocate those services still to the county because I think they deserve them.
We're
Is
really
Shannon on here? Is an
not
extension even possible?
We've done it for other grantees in the past when we've made extensions at the end of their fiscal years, I believe. And so I don't think it'd be out of line with stuff that we haven't done before. But even if it was the case to make the exception here and do that, I think it would be in line with the spirit of Measure 110.
Ryan?
Thank you. Sorry, I know we're trying to get to a motion. Did they apply and be approved for this round of funding?
Kathy, Liz, are y'all able to answer to that? I'm unsure.
They applied, but they did not meet the minimum qualifications of the application.
Thank you.
But that being said, I'm just thinking we should just deny it. Because they're not even going into the next round.
There is still a motion on the table. Is there a second for that? Or Dharma, did you want to rescind?
I would
Still
second
want to see it.
Dharma's motion.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, Kathy, would just be to ensure that the services are more in line with Measure 110 approved services.
Got it.
But
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. And yeah, I just want to see what happens with it more than just denying it outright. But that was just my thought.
Sabrina has her hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was wondering, are we at a point where we can offer grant extension? I didn't catch that part.
Shannon, is that a question for you?
Yeah, I think I'm not prepared to answer that question right now. I think that I think that that's something that I would need to consider offline. I think it's complicated given that we have a pending RFGA out there with decisions being made on applications.
I re-raised my hand. I'm not sure if anybody could see that. Would y'all like to table this conversation until we can find out more from DOJ?
We do have a motion and a second, so we would need to follow through with that vote first.
Liz also had her hand up, but she on there.
Yeah, sorry. For some reason, the little hand function is not showing up on my menu. I just want to clarify, they are in this next round. They did apply, and I'm currently evaluating their materials.
My apologies. I misspoke on that.
Sorry, so they
Dharma?
were the one that they got missed, right? And so they weren't included because they
No,
would have gotten. They would not.
no, they've, I'm pretty sure have been in this the entire time in Tillamook County.
They were always there in Tillamook County when we reviewed them last time. Was it
Yes,
okay? I feel like there was the one group from Tillamook that got forgotten about there, didn't get added in
there was
last
a
minute.
missed application in Hood River County.
Oh, Hood River. Okay, sorry about that. With regards to the motion being tabled or whatever, I just want to. I don't think this like asks us to make a decision on it per se, whether we're going to make an extension or not. It's just to see if we can later on. So I figured we could do both at one time, have them like do their end at the same time as we are following up with the OJ to get advice.
Ami.
If they're not approved and they have to do a grant amendment, can that funding be transferred over to the orgs that are approved, to supervise peers? Because it sounds to me like that county is in dire need of peers. They just can't subcontract.
I think that's like Liz or maybe Liz or Shannon or
Yeah, so if a grantee returns funds because they haven't used it, then it just goes back into the fund. I don't, and that would happen in June, so I don't think that that money would go into the mix that's currently um being expended now, right? It wouldn't go into the mix of things with the decisions that you're making, that you have made about applications, but would be available for future funding.
Future funding as in like in July or in the next few years?
Yeah, well, I think that depends um on whether or not, OHA establishes any processes for other funding opportunities. Then, the next round of grants are going to be good for 4 years, so it might not be that there's a competitive process for some time.
Are we ready to vote on the motion?
Dharma has her hand up again.
Oh,
Sorry,
Dharma?
I would just add that the services are, it's not necessarily going to save anything for Tillamook County if it goes back into the general fund. To your question, because I don't think that we can't guarantee that it would go back to Tillamook County. So that's my only hesitation about not trying to see what they could offer or figure out.
All right, we're ready to vote.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat the motion just to make sure everyone understands it clearly. I move that the presenters bring back an alternate proposal after technical assistance with OHA to better align with Measure 110. Is that correct, Dharma?
Yeah, with Measure 110 approved services, but yeah.
And Linda seconded that. Me, how do you vote?
I'm gonna vote no.
Amy?
I don't know. I'm going to abstain.
I think that we do have to make or that there's no
Can
abstaining
you come
unless.
back to me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Caroline?
No.
Dharma?
Yes.
Hubert? Let me know he stepped out for a moment. Hunter is not here. Jackie? Are you still here, Jackie?
I don't see Jackie.
Okay, she may have dropped off. Keisha?
No.
Leticia?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Mason is not here. Melissa? She may have stepped out. Morgan's not here. Ryan?
Yes.
Sabrina voted no in the chat. And Zeb is not here. And that does not pass. We have 4 yeses and one, two.
I got mine as a no as well.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Sorry for not going back to you. So that does not pass. We have four yeses and 5 nos. Back to you, Keisha.
All right. So do we make another motion or we're just done with this?
Jana, I think we may need you to step in on this. Do we need to make a motion, or is this just
deny?
I think the council could just choose not to act, or it could deny the request.
would that need another motion and vote?
If it was a denial, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have a little hand thing. And so I just want to ask the clarifying question, since I'm working with this grantee. If they still want to propose a budget adjustment, are they allowed to, or does that motion
Nope.
effectively close that option off?
I'm thinking it closes it off. Because that was the motion that didn't pass. Did they come back with something different?
Caroline's hand is up.
I'm
We
sorry,
can-
I can't see. Go ahead, Caroline.
We can make a motion saying, since we denied it, that we could recommend that they get some technical assistance to see if they could be in line with Measure 110. We could make that motion.
That's what we just voted on.
No, we voted on their motion. I thought we voted on the motion to deny what their proposal was.
No, it was to do that, what you just said, Caroline, sorry.
Oh, well, then I voted wrong.
If we don't act, then they can, right? If we didn't deny the motion outright or deny the proposal outright.
Linda's hand is up.
I'm just gonna make a motion to deny because I think otherwise it's confusing. And if that doesn't pass, then we can, but I think we need, for me at least, I think it'd be clear to know, if that doesn't pass, then we'll have to revisit maybe. So I will make a motion to deny Tillamook Family Services application to move their, I guess, peer services funding to different categories.
Second.
Was that Ryan that seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, on me, how do you vote?
Yes.
Amy?
I'm sorry, can you say the motion one more time?
Yes, motion to deny TCCHC for a budget adjustment.
Come back.
Okay, Caroline?
Yes.
Dharma?
No.
Hubert? Hunter is not here. Jackie? Did she come in? Keisha?
Yes.
Leticia?
No.
Linda?
No.
Melissa?
No.
Thank you. Ryan?
No.
Sabrina? Oh, she has a no in the chat, and so does Hubert. Let me adjust that. And Zeb is not here. That does not pass. We have 3 yeses and 7 nos.
That's weird. I'm just wondering, was the motion clear? The proposal and the second are both voted against what they proposed and seconded. I don't know. I'm just wondering, was it clear?
Well, that's why I asked to have her reread it, because I'm like, I think I Can you tell me the motion one more time? Motion is to deny them the ability to come back and with
The budget, just to deny this budget adjustment.
Yeah.
Okay, then yes.
The first motion says, I move that the presenters bring back an alternate proposal after technical assistance with OHA to better align with Measure 110 services. That was denied. The second motion is to deny the budget adjustment request, which Linda gave a little bit more detail on that, saying the peer services stuff, but that was basically a budget adjustment.
My vote is a yes, that we deny that.
The budget adjustment?
Right.
Okay.
Shannon, would you be able to step in? I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Can I go back and adjust the votes after it's closed?
It sounds like perhaps there was confusion about what a yes vote meant and what a no vote meant. So if you vote yes, you are voting to deny, right? So, I am not an expert in Robert's Rules of Order, but I think that if you want to do a roll call again and it basically allow people to revote given the confusion, that would probably be the best thing to do. So again, if you vote yes, then you're voting to deny the budget adjustment, and there are lots of hands up.
Caroline.
So we did this in reverse. That's the problem. We should have voted for the first one to deny it if we wanted to deny it. And then we should have voted on them getting some technical assistance. But we did it backwards. And I think that's where we all got confused. I thought I was voting to deny them. And then we were going to vote them to get some technical assistance or help. But we did it in reverse. And so I think that's where all the confusion happened. Now we all just voted for them to get approved. That's what we just did.
Yeah.
So Carolyn, just one point on that. I think that a denial of their request for the budget adjustment doesn't, if you deny it, if the if the vote to deny doesn't pass, that also doesn't mean that the budget adjustment is approved. That would need to be a separate motion. So
did we not just vote on denying their proposal that she presented? And so it passed? I mean, the no's won, so now that means their proposal is approved.
I don't think so. I think that the council would have to affirmatively vote to approve the budget adjustment.
Okay, and then we got Linda and Sabrina.
I just want to acknowledge I'm sorry for any confusion I caused because I voted against the motion, but it was because I thought that people were wanting to vote to deny, so I just wanted to move things forward. Because my understanding was that we voted against having them adjust the budget, so it seemed to me that the only alternative, since my impression was that people did not want to approve the budget in its current form. And then we all voted to not have them adjust the budget. So to me, it seemed like the only option was then we deny their request for a budget, to change up their budget. And I was surprised that did not pass. So, if people were confused about motion 2, I think we probably just need to re-vote on that one.
Thank you. Sabrina?
Yeah, so my concern was I'm not totally in favor of accepting their amendment to their grant, but I also want to know from DOJ, even if we did, I think I'm missing information to make up my mind, because even if we did vote for them to have any kind of amendment to their budget, would we be able to do that this late in the game? So I think that's kind of where I'm stuck at.
Yeah, Sabrina, it's Shannon from DOJ. Yeah, I don't think there's any, I don't think there's any reason why, even if the grant expires in June, that you couldn't vote on a budget adjustment.
Sabrina? Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
I meant a grant extension. Could we do a grant extension if needed? And I'm not sure if that's the same as a budget adjustment. I'm thinking it's two different things.
Yeah, Sabrina, those are definitely two different things. And as I said earlier, I'm not prepared to answer that question. So you'll have to sort of wait until I consider that after the meeting.
Kathy did drop a suggested motion that combined the two in the chat. And Caroline does have her hand up though too.
I want to make a motion for us to rescind the other two motions and go with Kathy's proposal. Is that, I think that the two that we voted on cross each other off because we were confused as to what was. So I make a motion that we, whatever the proper term is, for us to rescind those two and to go with Kathy's.
Shannon, am I correct in thinking
I'm
we,
sorry.
oh, sorry,
Do we
that
gotta remedy that second vote? We're supposed to have a recount on the second vote and we didn't, I don't know.
this motion combines them to basically say the same thing?
But
Yeah, I think
that's
Keisha
still,
was yeah, I think Keisha was asking whether or not we needed to revote because there was confusion about the other vote, but maybe there wasn't confusion about the other vote. I think to Carolyn's point, and sorry, Ami, I see your hand. I would suggest, I don't know that you can rescind a motion once it's voted on, but you could reconsider, right, as part of this motion. Maybe Kathy, you could work in, I move to reconsider the previous two votes and to do the other things that that Kathy has there in the chat.
I mean,
Thank you, Kathy, for the motion, but I think those should both be separated because I have two different answers for both of those. Like the budget adjustment, and sending it back to OHA.
Currently, there's no motion on the table. That's just a suggested motion.
I'm just talking about the suggested motion.
I'm wondering, because we have more to get through on the agenda, if we need to table this.
Do we want to take a vote to table it?
I think so. It's a lot going on and unanswered questions. I mean, I make a motion that we table this for now.
Second.
And that was Dharma, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All right, Carly.
Okay.
I think we can move the vote.
Motion again, I'm sorry.
The motion is to table this. Okay, Ami, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Amy?
Yes.
Caroline?
Yes.
Dharma?
Yes.
Hubert? Hubert votes yes in the chat. Jackie? Keisha?
Yes.
Leticia?
Yes.
Linda?
No.
Melissa?
No.
Ryan?
No.
Sabrina? She voted yes in the chat. And Zeb is not here. That passes with 8.
Ooh, thank you. All right.
Counts on those, please.
We have 8 yeses and 3 noes.
Thank you.
Back to you, Keisha.
All right, trying to find the agenda. All right, sorry. We just did. All right. The next agenda item is Tillamook County Care. Are they here? Still?
Yes, they should be. Presenters from Tillamook County Care, y'all can turn your cameras on and unmute now.
Thank you.
Carly, do we need to read this again or?
Probably just sum it up and call for conflicts.
So for OAC members with an actual conflict of interest, who cannot participate in the discussions on the matter that presents the conflict. If there are a potential conflict of interest, you must announce the nature of the conflict, but you can participate in the decision and vote. And if you announce an actual conflict of interest, you must announce the nature of the conflict and refrain from participating in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for agreeing to hear us today. My name is Amy Wooden. I'm the contracted CFO with CARE. Along with me today are Jeff Blackford, the Executive Director, Joy Auska, the Accountant, and Ryan Weber, who's our Development Manager. And Ryan is going to start us off.
Perfect. Thank you, Amy. Can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So just to give you all a little background on our project, in 2022, CARE received the BURN grant, which was a pivotal moment for us in our Shelter Village project that we are working to do. So the project itself is to provide no barrier temporary shelter solutions for individuals experiencing homelessness here in Tillamook County. So since we received the grant and it was written in 2022, there's been a lot of unexpected delays that have come up, including different construction delays related to weather, some contractor issues that we ran into, as well as some budgeting things that came up due to the previous executive director's lack of experience in planning and budgeting a peer-run program. So next slide. So as though we have faced these challenges, we were able to start construction of the micro shelter village starting in late 2023. And since then, we've made some really remarkable strides in addressing the homelessness in Tillamook County. So despite the challenges that resulted in rising material costs, other unexpected expenses, we have successfully constructed 10 micro shelters and 3 bathroom units and hired and trained 6 peer support specialists to oversee the project once it is finished with its construction. Next photo. Next, please. So as you can see here on this slide, this is some pictures of our actual progress as of April 18th. You'll see that we have our 10 micro shelter units in and our 4 additional units, as well as the slab poured that will soon hold our 400 square foot congregate shelter, as well as a final bathroom and shower unit that will go there. Next slide. And from here, you can see the statistics of what we have currently been able to do with our current capacity of our shelter programming, which is just for reference, we have 6 micro shelter units that are off-site of our premises, as well as we offer a off-site warming shelter that is only open when when the temperature is predicted to drop below 35 degrees. So to kind of put that into context, this calendar year, we were open 29 straight days. And typically in a regular year, we're open anywhere between 35 to 45 days on average. So it's also worth noting that these numbers you see here represents that offsite warming shelter is currently a low barrier shelter offered at a church in their basement space. And what our project is looking to do is to create a no barriers solution for our clients. And so by removing that barrier as well as many others, we are expecting to see these numbers double, if not possibly more, in how many we've been able to actually shelter and help and receive permanent housing. So that is kind of the background and the past of what we've been working through for the last little bit. Amy is now going to actually take over for me, and she's going to cover the numbers and our actual ask of where we're looking to reallocate those funds. So that'll be the next slide.
Thank you, Ryan. After doing a deep analysis of the remaining needs for this project, we want to transfer $305,617.40 from personnel to other sections of the budget. And there are reasons for that. Hiring for our peer program was delayed due to the construction-related weather delays, the previously mentioned contractor issues, and the former executive director's lack of experience in planning and budgeting for a peer-run organization. This budget modification, however, does include wages for the current peer team through the end of this grant cycle in order to ensure services can be provided through the end of the grant period. Next slide, please. We want to move money from personnel to 3 other areas in our grant: training, service and supplies, and capital projects. We believe all staff should be certified in harm reduction, trauma-informed care, and other vital training, because it's become clear that all staff will be engaging with peers in the programs. Currently, only program staff are trained. In addition, of those who have already been trained and certified, there are several who will need recertification soon. We're also asking to allocate $49,895.99 to service and supplies in order to purchase essential startup supplies for the shelter village, ensuring all necessary materials are available for its operation at the opening. In addition, we'd like to move $247,761.72 to capital projects in order to finish the construction of the village. This is not for maintenance or anything else, it's just to finish the construction. This substantial increase in capital outlay is due to construction-related weather delays and issues with the original contractor, which caused us to change from a 1 to 2 person crew to a 6-person crew, as well as unanticipated electrical costs associated with the addition of a power vault, which is approximately $50,000. That was required by our local utilities district, which wasn't in the original budget. Next slide, please. Thank you. We very much appreciate the time you've gifted us today, and we hope you'll consider our request today. Are there any questions? Yes.
I was wondering if you could tell me what all Measure 110 services are you all approved to do?
Jeff, I think that's a good question for you.
Sure. So we have the shelter services, we have the peer delivered services, as well as food services for the shelter.
Thank you.
That's what I believe is in our Measure 110 contract.
Caroline.
Thank you. So I actually, okay, I understand that there was some delays and whatever for you to finish the shelter, and that there was increased costs, and that there was some, was it a transformer or something? I mean, I understand all that. So you're gonna put it back into putting up the shelter units. So what are you gonna do once those units are up and you just gave up the personnel?
So the original budget that was put together by the previous executive director budgeted that we were going to need 15 peer support staff to run that program. And that, in all honesty, was way more than we ever would need to run this program. We've been able to successfully run with 8, and the peer support team has been hired since receiving burn, and we've been able to deliver these services with the 8 that we currently have on staff, as well as be able to run the warming shelter and the micro shelters we currently have. And they didn't exist previous to us receiving the burn grant. So the original asked amount for budget that was budgeted for salaries was over $1 million. And that it was a very inflated projection. And now that we're actually going through we've gone through the project, we've seen where we're at. It's cost more to actually construct the village than to staff it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think I put my hand up again. What are your hours of operation?
So currently we operate 9 to 4, but when the shelter is up, we will be working 24/7. It will be a 24-hour service.
Thank you.
Of course.
I'll say that. So I just have a quick question about I mean, I know it's home shelters. I'm just wondering, like, how much of the population has SUD, or is it just for the whole population of homelessness?
So the shelters themselves, so the congregate shelter is going to be for anyone that is experiencing homelessness at the moment, and the micro shelters are individuals that are working with our peer support program. So to be able to be in the micro shelters, which is their own units versus the congregate, they are part of that is going to be working with our peer support team, working with them on strategies and plans, working on receiving resources. And currently, our numbers are showing that 90% of our homeless clients that we have sheltered are working through some type of addiction.
Thank you.
Of course.
I did want to just add something that I think we kind of forgot to touch on. Currently, we are partnering with an organization that does harm reduction in our parking lot. And as soon as we get going, we will be having harm reduction site here. So we will be offering those services as well. So I wanted to put that in there just for you guys to know that we really are focusing on the war on drugs.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you. Ami?
I just want to make sure I heard it right. So, like, once this project is settled, and your numbers may double, you expect it to double, right? Do you think your current staff can handle it when your numbers double?
We do think that they will be
Maybe
able
even
to
triple.
Absolutely. So we do think they will be able to handle it because the congregate shelter itself is going to be able to sleep anywhere between 16 to 20 individuals. And the micro shelters themselves will have 14 beds between the 10 of them. We do have 2 dormitory, quote unquote, style units that have more than just 1 bed in them. So really it's going to be a lot easier than our current setup because we have 2 off sites, and with this is actually on our property and will be right in our backyard, for lack of a better term. So there's going to be ease of access to it. There's going to be ease of being able to meet with individuals and more regular schedule. So I personally do believe that they will be able to handle that increase. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, just something that I like to add to the conversation when I talk. We're not just we're making sure that we're also protecting the individuals, not only those that have sex offenses, but we, like Ryan was saying with the offsite, we are going to be renovating that offsite campus, which has currently 7 units. That will be for women and children. And then the congregate shelter will be for the no barrier shelter. And then we have the new micro shelters that are being built on site as well. So we're really trying to do a full continuum of care for people coming from tents on the streets, anywhere throughout Tillamook that can come to our site, get immediate shelter, regardless of their addiction, mental health, homelessness situation at that moment, have a place to lay their head, start seeking services. We can start referring them to other agencies and community partners, and hopefully get them into, detox or some sort of program, and really start helping them along the way of that continuum, and then into the micro shelter units. So we're really wanting to make this a full continuum of care.
And I think another really kind of pertinent point to this as well is that currently in Tillamook County, there is no option for low to no barrier shelter. There's one other shelter one other shelter program that exists in Tillamook County right now. And I would deem them a high barrier personally, that you have to be sober. And so, or in your sobriety journey. And we are removing that barrier to be able to help those that aren't quite there yet. We want to encourage them to get there, and we want to have them work with our peer team to get to that point. Because then, as they work with us, as they get to their point, that continuum of care Jeff mentioned, we can refer them out to that other shelter program where they can go there and open up spaces that we have. And they also refer people to us as they have people that maybe aren't thriving in their program. So as we're referring back and forth, it's going to work really well. But just right now, there's no site if you are in need of a low to no barrier, there is nothing for you right now in Tillamook County. So we're filling that void for all of Tillamook County right now, once we get opened.
I do think we should mention we're really close to opening. We're actually expecting it like in the next 3 to 4 weeks. It's really, really close. So that's why we're here today with this ask, because this will, if we can shuffle the money a little bit, then we can actually hit all our targets, hit all the goals of our grant agreement. And we're really excited to be this close.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right, not seeing no hands.
I make a motion to approve Tillamook County CARES Incorporation budget adjustment request as shown in presentation.
I second that motion. This is Leticia.
I'm going to jump in. Caroline moves and Leticia seconds. And hi, apologies, I'm late. I'm Abby Stamp. I'm the Executive Director of Measure 110 and the Bird Programming. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Real quick. Oh, go ahead, Ryan. I'll speak after you. Go ahead, Ryan.
I just was doing a quorum check.
We're good. Thank you.
And for discussion, should the presentees be present?
No, Taylor, have you demoted? I'll help you do that.
On it right now.
Okay.
I got it.
I was wondering why they're still in here.
No offense. I very much appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you. We appreciate the time. I was wondering the same thing, but wasn't going to say anything.
If you just slowly raise your hand.
It looks like we're good to go, Taylor. Is that right? Oh, wait, one more, Maya.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
So now discussion? Or is everyone out? Okay. So real fast, and then I'll move to Sabrina and Ryan. But I mean, it was an amazing presentation, amazing cause. I just see a lot of folks using Measure 110 dollars to fund a whole cause separate kind of for Measure 110 and then include a little piece of Measure 110, but we fund like their whole um, vision. So I just have to say that real fast. And we did have some hands up, but I see them go down. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say that this seemed like a more clear example of rebudgeting and not such a stretch as the previous kind of presentation. It seems like it's pretty closely aligned with combating the impact of the war on drugs, but I'll defer to the group for that.
Yeah. I mean, I heard the combat of the homeless crisis, but I didn't really hear the combat of the war on drugs. 5 minutes away. My son has a track meet. Any more discussion? Dharma.
I guess I did, I did hear them say that 90% of their clients were experiencing SUD or addiction services or issues. And then most of those folks or all of their folks in their micro shelters receive peer services as well. And so I think the two really do feel enjoined, at least for this community. The two problems seem to be enmeshed really heavily. So I don't see the difference. If 10% was the difference, if 10% of their clients are receiving the services that aren't having SUD issues, I think that's probably similar to other programs that we funded that probably have similar rates, at least for shelter.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between having a substance use disorder and just um, being impacted by substances. I think it's a difference. Like, so do you drink or smoke weed is different than do you need help or
But
what are
we
you
fund
trying to do
both,
about this?
right?
Just my opinion. It's more of a homeless crisis thing than an SUD. Sabrina and then Dharma.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I believe we heard stories similar to this. So this is more for the OHA team for their response, or maybe even Shannon. When we give funds to people, it's up to the organization to decide or to ensure that the money that we're giving them is for the target population covered under the rules and under Measure 110. Is that correct?
Abby, go ahead.
Thanks, Sabrina. That was very much discussed as you were allocating funds for the 2025 to 2029 grant process, as you knew that folks are going to have to reduce their application. And so rather than telling folks, you can't do peers and housing, we only want you to do peers, y'all were saying, you know what, figure out how to use this reduced amount better. So I think that's a really different proposition than it is with folks who already have a signed agreement with an expectation of delivering the services that is in their grant agreement and the funds that they have been allocated.
Thank you for that, Abby. Kathy, uh, Sabrina, and then Liz. I think I did see
Thank you.
Kathy's hand.
Yeah, so then I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, Abby. So it's up to the organization to ensure it. They say, hey, we're going to use the fund for this mission. And if we were to vote and pass yes on this, then it'd still be up to the organization to make sure they're providing funds to the people they're supposed to be providing it to, the services.
Well, and the difference here, Sabrina, thank you for the follow-up, is I say she's got her hand up and she's the grant administrator. So working really closely with her organization, which includes this one, to make sure that they're spending their grant in line with their signed grant agreement. And they need to come back to you all if they want to make any of those changes or within a certain dollar amount.
Yeah, and I just want to provide some clarity. So they are a housing provider for the Tillamook burn. They are one of 3 Pod Village projects that were approved in this first round of funding. So they're doing what they proposed to do, and that was approved by the OAC originally. They're just asking to use some unspent personnel in their other categories because costs were higher than what they expected.
I think that's all the hands. I don't see any hands up. Move to close. I just had to say about 2 pieces. I love this. I love this organization and what they're doing, but sometimes I just feel like we missed the mark for Measure 110. Oh, Dharma, go.
I just want to point out that like folks that are experiencing chronic homelessness have a myriad of reasons why they might not have a substance use disorder. And so it's really important that when we make that discernment, that we're not excluding people who could potentially have a substance use disorder that aren't diagnosed or whatever, right? I think it's a really small number of folks that are receiving these services, but I think it's a really bad standard to set to disparage those folks as if they're not impacted by the war on drugs, because they are. And so I just think it sets a really weird precedent when we make those kinds of comments, because I think it's disparaging to people whose lives are upended by substance use, regardless of whether or not they have a diagnosis. And we still serve those folks underneath these services. So it's like, I just feel like it's really a disparaging kind of comment to make about folks who are impacted by the war on drugs, but might not have a substance use disorder necessarily, or aren't. So it just feels weird to me to make those kinds of comments, but I digress.
So thanks for that. And it feels weird to me to categorize everyone who's homeless has to be have a substance use disorder, and that's not the case. Like people are homeless for many different reasons, and I just don't like when we try to put them all in one category, and that's not the case. People have different individual reasons why homelessness is impacting them. That's all I was saying, and that's my word. Carolyn.
This plan was already approved. And so I don't think we should be questioning the plan. The prices went up. They don't need as many peer support. They didn't know what the cost was going to be when they submitted. This is an old request. So there's a motion on the table. I think we should go forward with the motion. Thanks for your comment, though.
So are we moving forward, or Dharma, you have something else?
Sorry, I just forgot to put my hand down. I apologize.
All right, Leticia, I think we can move forward with the vote. I mean, I'm sorry, not Leticia, Carly. Sorry.
Thank you, Keisha. Ami, how do you vote?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Caroline?
Yes.
Dharma?
Yes.
Hubert?
Yes.
Jackie? Did she come back in? Keisha?
Yes.
Leticia? I think she had to hop off. Oh, no, there you are.
Sorry. Yes.
Linda? She's who hopped off. Melissa?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
And Zeb is gone. That passes with 10 yeses and 0 nos.
Thank you. Let me see what's next. I guess now we have the Washington County BH discussion and vote. And I think this goes to Abby. Are you?
It does indeed.
Abby, I do have,
All right.
sorry, I do have a conflict slide I'm pulling up also.
Awesome. Thank you, Carly. And I know you've got one little slide for us too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, everything closed on me. Okay, does that open?
Hey, Carly, why don't I let you troubleshoot and I'll give the other
Go
announcement?
ahead.
Great.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So, as you all know, the Measure 110 team or the Burn team, we partner with the Office of Contracts and Procurement to do the whole RFGA process. You know, they post it on Oregon Buys online, and then the 300 plus folks respond to that, and then the Office of Contracts and Procurement OCMP, they receive all the applications, organize them, get them all ready, and hand them over to us. We recently discovered there was one that was missed, and that was for Hood River County, and it's Mid-Columbia Center for Living. And they called us and said, "Hey, we never got our award letter. Or denied? What's going on?" Oh, so we received the application, went through the exact same process that everybody else went through, and that application has been reviewed and scored. And on Monday, the folks who are on the review panels, may have already received an invitation to go to yet another review panel, Keisha and Amy, to discuss the Mid-Columbia Center for Living application, just like we did with the other 300 plus. Hopefully it will just be a half an hour or less to do that process as required. And then we'll bring that forward to the OAC for funding. And because that was an error on the state side, we're working diligently to find alternative resources, knowing that cannabis tax revenue fund that you all oversee has already been spent down completely. So we're working on it. I just wanted to give you all a heads up that that was happening, and it is very much in line with the conversation we're about to have. Any questions before Carly takes over? And I'm watching our time carefully. Sabrina?
I just want to say really quick, thank you guys for taking accountability and then also bringing them to the table to ensure they get funded in some way or another.
Absolutely. Mistakes happen. What you got to do is own them and fix them. And on that note, we'll do a call for conflicts and we'll talk about the next error that happened. Thank you so much, Carly. All right, call for conflicts. Does anybody have a potential or an actual conflict of interest with Washington County Health and Human Services? Okay, hearing no conflicts, we can move forward. Do you have a different slide deck, Carly, or is it on the same?
Oops, I just have the possible motion. I didn't have another slide deck.
Oh, the image I sent you?
Oh, that give me.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll talk through it. Don't.
Okay.
Or you do your thing. I'll talk through it. All right. And sorry, I'm in the capital and the internet here is a little spotty, so I apologize if I freeze up. So if you'll remember, when we went through the whole discussion about all of the applications, we did some color coding. And if an entity was highlighted with that kind of goldenrod orange color, that applicant was an existing burn partner, and you all well, you funded everybody. You wanted to make sure that those providers were sustained into this next grant cycle, right? And so the new applicants were in white. We learned after everything that had been done that Washington County actually had two grants in the last grant cycle. There was one with their public health and one with behavioral health. And so in Washington County Health and Human Services as applied, they were applying as both of those entities together. So as we went through together and went and recalculated those votes to really lean on the stability value, a big piece of funding was missed. And so that baseline funding that was included for, I think Carly's about to, yes, thank you. Oh, it's really small. I apologize. But this is the numbers, right? So you'll see Washington County Behavioral Health Division, their award was $475,000. And then the Washington County Public Health, which was the other award from the 2022 to 2025 grant cycle was actually pretty large. And so if you add them all together, what we're looking at is a total of $8.4 million that went to Washington County. There was a big chunk that went to a capital project. So doing the same math and looking at the existing grant and trying to come up with a reasonable budget, not the same as, but somewhat near their existing operating budget, we come up to a new total of $3.4 million. And then taking the cut that everybody took because the DTRSF revenue forecast is going down, that would bring Washington County's grand total to $3.275 million. So actually, OHA made two errors. One was we failed to identify that Washington County's baseline is actually different. And the second error was on me. I was so mortified and concerned about making sure that we had equity with all of our 300 plus applicants. I just went ahead and pushed it through, and I failed to stop and take a breath and make sure that you all see this and that you all vote on this. So this is a bit of a retroactive problem, and for that, I totally own it, and I really want to apologize to you all. I was in a space of, if there's a problem, just lean in, Abby, and fix it and get her done. I do want to let you all know that the funds that are able to get Washington County, and as a reminder, this funds basically the entire county's harm reduction system. What we're able to do is use not cannabis tax revenue to fund this because I've been working with Sam Byers. And Sam's one of her units oversees federal funds. They're called block grants, and OHA gets federal block grants every biennium across the behavioral health continuum. And really what's supposed to do is fund gaps. And because a lot of the funding and identifying of gaps is pretty fluid, the spend down was a lot slower than anticipated. And there was some additional funds that needed to be spent. So it was like the timing was awful and also perfect. So we were able to fill this gap with Washington County using the same methodology as every other burn partner did, and to fill the gap not using cannabis tax revenue, and to continue the existing harm reduction services in Washington County. So, Carly, could you pull down the screen share so I can see folks and see if they have any questions for me, or I'll just, do you have any negative comments you want to share about my pushing forward too quickly? So that's the situation. Just want to come clean with it, see if you have any questions, and if you would be comfortable voting, even though it's not the funds that you all are responsible for. You are responsible for the burns, and I want to make sure that is crystal clear. Caroline.
So going back to your screen, so the purple is what we already approved, and the one next to the purple line is the gap that you guys are going to fill.
No, differently. The ones that you already approved is the top line, and the ones that one that we found and had to fill is the bottom line, because they had two grants.
Okay.
And now they have one, because the Health and Human Services is the umbrella organization, and they had two grants, behavioral health and public health, that were under, and they combined them and applied as one.
So can you put the screen back up then? I mean, the power or whatever, the Excel, whatever that was.
So what you see across there, across the right, is the 475 in that pink, Caroline. That's what you already approved. The additional 2.8 is the non-DTRSF funds that we found, which is a 79% of their budget from the last go round. You add those together and their total award is 3.275 million. Other questions? Sabrina?
To clarify, would it need to be one vote or two votes? And do you guys have sample language?
We have sample language, and it would be just one vote. Any other questions for me? Sabrina?
Yeah, I would like to move the motion if there's no other questions at this time. Is that okay if I do that, Abby?
It's your meeting, not mine.
Okay, so I move to approve the adjustments made by OHA to the Washington County burn to fix an award calculation error to increase the funding to Washington County Health and Human Services for the amount of $3,275,000.
All second.
So that was Sabrina made the motion and Ryan second. Any discussion? Ryan?
I just want to point out that I was raising my hand. I just want to point out that there was a gap in Washington County that has a population most affected by war on drugs that took a much larger cut than Multnomah did, I think, at the very beginning. So having this addition kind of gets Washington County kind of back into fair playing field.
And it follows your existing priorities, which is to make sure that existing burns stay afloat. Because we missed that Washington County was an existing burn with two different projects. That's where we totally dropped the ball, and tried to find a creative way to fix it. Other discussion? Okay, Carly, you want to call a vote?
I'm muted. I'm going to restate the motion just to make sure everyone heard it clearly. I move to approve the adjustments made by OHA to Washington County Burn to fix an award calculation error to increase the funding to Washington County Health and Human Services for a total amount of $3,275,000. And me, how do you vote?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Caroline?
Yes.
Dharma?
Yes.
Hubert?
Yes.
Keisha?
Yes.
Leticia?
Yes.
Linda? I think she left. Melissa?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
And that passes with 10.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your grace. I really do. Keisha?
Yeah. Are we going? Do we have another agenda item? Looks like it's 3:30 also. I don't know if folks can stay. Is there
There's
another agenda item?
no, we switched them, so it might look like there is one on the agenda, but Abby did the last one before the Washington County one, so we're good to go.
Okay, good. Well, great discussions, great work, team. I think we can get out of here and get back to our lives and see each other soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.